This video is going to be my reaction to the Ravens' 35-10 win over the Bills on Sunday Night Football. They looked like the team that we all knew was in there tonight. Really dismantled a Buffalo team that had come in 3-0 and hadn't scored less than, I think, 31 points so far. Total domination tonight. You can't watch that game and not while watching it in the first and second quarter, and particularly the third, there are moments where, as Ravens fans, we are aghast because we have a sense of doom about what might be coming. But now, looking back on it, if you were to go back and watch all four quarters, absolute one-sided football was really only competitive in a few moments of time. The third quarter, brief stretch there where the Bills were able to score a touchdown off an amazing play by Josh Allen, finding Khalil Shakir, and then the short touchdown run by Ty Johnson, and then getting the football back quickly at midfield. Obviously, a poor decision by their offensive coordinator. You're in the third quarter, down only 21-10 at that point, facing a 2nd and 7, I believe, right at midfield, maybe the negative 48. Van Noy's strip sack was sick. It gets the momentum back for the Ravens. It's a really weird play call, if you ask me, by the Bills. A wildcat toss pass. More on that later. Really, the night belonged, just like last week, to Derrick Henry. He ran for 199 yards on 24 carries. That first play just rolled into the end zone. A wham trap concept. Chris Collinsworth tried to talk about it for a moment, but there's so many things going on, number one, as an announcer in the booth. And number two, I suspect that those guys have multiple people talking to them in their ears from a headset standpoint, or a wireless earpiece, I should say. It's a wham trap concept. We've used it before, always to our right. I don't think we ran it one time to our left last year. Great block by Ricard and multiple guys. I think Andrews is over there as well. But the last 2 weeks, Derrick Henry, he's put up 350 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. He's actually accounted for a 4th touchdown. He had the pass receiving tonight. Justice Hill had 88 yards of total offense. I think actually a little more than that. My apologies. Almost 100. He had the touchdown on the wheel shake route against the inside linebacker. Put us up 21-3 halfway through the second quarter. I'm going to let some stats flow through here. Those are too small or difficult to see with the font size. Please let me know. Look, other than a fumble on the Ravens' next possession after going up 21-3, they shredded the Bills. The Ravens averaged 8.1 yards per play tonight. Even take Henry's 87-yard play out, and they're still going to exceed the 6.6 yards per play that we're averaging coming into the game. That's right. If you didn't know, the Ravens averaged the highest yards per play coming into the game tonight. This offense can reach heights that last year's could not. That's a fact. With Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the backfield at the same time, Isaiah Likely playing at the level he's playing at. It's a true spread offense, though. There's certain guys who aren't getting a ton of targets. On a night like tonight, running backs, Henry and Hill got 30 touches. That will probably be a talking point for fans of other teams, or maybe even some Ravens fans that want to see us throw the football more. I would agree at times I'd like to see us throw the football more, particularly in the third quarter when the Bills are playing a lot more aggressively than they did in the first half. But the point is, we can switch gears. This team can switch gears, go into multiple different attack modes, whether it's 11 personnel, 12 personnel. I want to see what we're averaging yards per play broken down by 21 and 22 personnel. I think some of the things we're doing, NFL defenses just haven't adjusted to yet. And no disrespect meant towards the Bills, but their defense had no answers tonight. The Ravens' coverages looked vastly improved. I was worried about the Ravens' team speed defensively against a Bills team that looked fast on film. Humphrey's playing extremely well. If you're not able to give him credit yet, I don't know what football games you're watching. He had a great pass defense on the slant to Shakir. He had a well-timed blitz, actually maybe 2 of them. One of them that caused Josh Allen to flow outside of the pocket. Shakir was really quiet, other than that 52-yard catch on the play that Josh Allen extended. Kyle Hamilton tackled him on the first possession out in the flats. Marlon Humphrey tackled him out there as well. The Bills offensively had a couple of back shoulder throws to Keon Coleman in the second half. They really got nothing going on. If you take out the 52-yard play to Shakir, which it counts, but I think sometimes it's illustrative to take away a big play and look at the rest of the game in isolation. 52 yards on that play to Shakir, and then the remaining 56 plays that the Bills ran produced 186 yards. By my count, that's a little over 3.2 yards per play on a night where really The score could have been worse. I thought at least three of Josh Allen's, well, at least three of Bill's quarterbacks' passes hit Ravens defenders in the hands and could have been intercepted. One of them was by Trubisky. It was late in the game where it hits Wiggins in the hands along the right sideline, so that one could have been intercepted. Brandon Stevens, I thought, a jumping opportunity and its interception, maybe down the left hash or maybe near the bottom of the numbers. But the Ravens defense, their post-snap movement and coverage shifts looked way more in line with the Ravens defense that we remember from last year. Kyle Hamilton, Kyle Van Noy, disruptive throughout. The Ravens put a lot of pressure on Josh Allen, who finished 16 of 29 passing, 180 yards. I thought the Bills' offense looked fast early. Maybe first two possessions, it looked threatening, but there seemed to be a time where the speed, what I thought was a speed deficit on our part, almost flipped, and it just didn't look like they could get hardly anything done. I still think Keon Coleman is a fantastic prospect. He's one of those guys that I looked at going into the draft. I was like, man, I hope the Ravens can get him. The Bills are able to pick him up. The young kid is got super talent. Those back shoulder throws are almost indefensible. I will flip it a little bit and talk about their lack of speed in the secondary. It feels like I'm running down the Bills. I still think they're a team that could win a lot of football games, but they looked slow on defense. And the reason why I'm pointing that out is I thought we were going to be the slower team on defense compared to the Bills' offensive receivers and tight ends. Really, really slow secondary from a foot speed standpoint. Look, the Ravens scored on our first play, the wham trap concept to Henry. It's out of 21 personnel. Blocked it really well. There's twins to the field, so maybe a Bills safety rolled down to the field where there's twins. I'm not sure, but what I do know is there was no one there, number one, and number two, there was no one gaining on Derrick Henry. And I'm not saying Derrick Henry's slow and they should catch him, but no one was even closing at all. He'd still be running if it was a 300-yard field. We just really took them by surprise on our first possession after forcing a punt on their first possession. Their second possession, the Bills are able to get a field goal. And at that point, some of my notes, I said, they look really bad in pass pro. That kind of surprised me. I don't know about you. I was surprised. There was 2 holds called already after 2 possessions, and I thought a third that could have been called, along with a false start. The only thing they had really was the short pass game, Josh Allen making quick reads. He got to his third read probably 4 times in the first quarter. And I think that's notable. What that means, to me at least, is his first read and maybe his second one on the same side of the field are just not open, and he's got to come back to the other side of the field. Short pass game, nonetheless, he was able to get it working on that second possession. Shakir had a nice catch on a play where I think he got hurt, and then a couple of third down pick concepts were giving us trouble, particularly one to the tight end that beat Kyle Hamilton. The Ravens, I'm going to go over some of the offensive stuff here in a moment and talk about the second and third possession, but we jumped out to that 14-3 lead early. Play action pass to Henry in the right flats. It was a second and goal with split flow. Collinsworth, give him credit. He was covering jet motion to one side and players moving in the other direction, or the quarterback and the running back going in opposite directions. And that's a real dynamic. I think we've talked about it a lot on this channel, and multiple other players have as well. But Henry scored on the first possession, 87 yards. And then the second possession, he capped that as well with a 5-yard touchdown catch in the right flats. Beautiful play on the Bills' third possession. I think it's got to be covered. I looked for the film. That's why it took me so long to get this one out. The exact same concept that the Bills were using in 2020 on important or critical third and shorts, they used again tonight, and it's on their third possession. If you don't recall, it's the 3rd and 1 where Ojabo gives Josh Allen a keep read. Josh Allen keeps the ball, kind of slides to his right. Ojabo hits him, but not before Allen can get the ball out in the right flats to, I think, Dawson Knox, and Kyle Hamilton makes the tackle on him to force a punt. They ran that exact same concept at least 4 or 5 times in 2020 leading up to our divisional round playoff loss up there. I had a different channel at that time, so I can't prove this, but I covered it in the preview for that game. And it frustrated me to no end on the Bills' scoring drive in the third quarter that they used that concept, and Chuck Clark allowed his eye discipline to be poor and get beat. And tonight, there's a pick element to that play as well. But tonight, Kyle Hamilton was able to get there and make the tackle on Knox. Great play by Ojabo. As great as it is by Hamilton to tackle Knox in the right flats, Ojabo being able to force a keep read by Josh Allen, because I do believe it's an RPO, and then veer out there to tackle him. Josh Allen's a huge quarterback, tremendous core strength and leg strength. Ojabo able to get him down and make the throw be off balance. Kyle Hamilton recovers. That was a great moment, if you ask me, for the Ravens to be able to get that stop, up 14-3, and then on the... Let's go over the second possession for a moment. I skipped over that one. This is the pass to Henry out in the right flats. The one thing I think is notable here is the 2nd and 7 screen to Justice Hill. Our screens the last 2 weeks, you guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. Our screens seem to be hitting against the Cowboys and Bills really big. That's going to have to be a point of emphasis for the Bengals and teams that are trying to defend us moving forward. This screen was out of empty. I thought Hill went in like late motion to the boundary, and then we threw it to him. You can see as far as a direction I have left for that one. It's a 2nd and 7 from the 18. Goes for 14 yards. Henry gets stacked up on the 1st and goal, scores on the 2nd and goal, like I said earlier, on the pass play. We also had a screen to start the drive, slightly different a little bit. It was a play action screen, so I think we faked the toss to our right. It's the first play all the way up top, out of 21 personnel, 1st and 10 from the negative 30. Fake the toss to the right, screen back to Flowers to the left-hand side, hits him for 10. I would say our last 6 screens have been incredibly productive. I might be wrong here. I think 5 of our last 6 screens have gone for 10-plus yards or more. And if you have a different recollect or memory of it, please feel free to let me know. After that aforementioned stop by Ojabo and Kyle Hamilton that I talked about, the Ravens are able to stretch the lead to 21-3. This one was a weird possession from the standpoint that we get, on the first play, 22 personnel, likely sail concept. We've run this now 3 times this year already, so there has to be a point in time at which it doesn't work, but likely open for 26. Wide open. I think perhaps actually there was a little bit better coverage than I make it sound. The jumping catch, and he took a big hit from down low by the safety. And then the drop by Andrews. He is wide open on the next play. That was unusual. We kind of look like we're self-destructing with a false start. Henry with a short run. And then this throw by Lamar on a 3rd and 11 from the negative 44. It's the 5th play down for you guys. Technically, I guess it'd be the 4th play of the drive with the penalty. 3rd and 11 from the negative 44. Bunch to our right. Aguilar sits down in the middle of the field. It's a laser of a throw. He had one tonight, and Josh Allen had one on the other side that were just ridiculous throws where I don't know what the miles per hour of their throws normally are, but it seemed like they added a little extra to it, an extra 5 or 7 miles per hour on it. Aguilar catches it between 2 defenders, 12 yards. Draw to Hill for 11. We end up getting another penalty, a hold here. This was a moment in time where, I think in our Discord, we were being a little negative. Like, oh, here come the penalties. We had the false start. We had the hold. The 2nd and 14, fake draw. Fake screen, fake draw. Ends up being incomplete to Aguilar. I thought it was an extremely well-thrown ball by Lamar. Kind of lofted over one defender in front of another. Collinsworth talked about it as if it would be intercepted, but I mean, he's throwing the ball to Aguilar, put it on his hands, slightly high. Aguilar makes a great effort. And then another screen on a 3rd and 14 from the 37. This was critical because I didn't want to see. I am oftentimes one who says, hey, we should run the football and take the field goal in these situations. First of all, this wasn't late second quarter, but second of all, I feel like we're a little bit far for that type of mentality, being on the 37. Talking about the 3rd and 14 from the 37. Ends up being another screen to Justice Hill behind 2 blockers. There's just so much space there. I need to start tracking the hash because I think this one was to the boundary, but I could be wrong. It goes for 15. 2 plays later, after a toss concept, pretty much nets us nothing. The wheel to Justice Hill against the linebacker. We have hit teams with that. We hit the Dolphins twice with it. Justice Hill had an incomplete pass against the Seahawks where he was slightly open. I think Keaton Mitchell had a drop against the Browns, or maybe the linebacker defended it better, but multiple times. Anyway, the point is, multiple times we've had that available to us. I love that concept where we think we know the coverage and we run the wheel into the boundary with the running back. They don't seem to cheat their alignment either. It's not that the defense would necessarily be able to tell. Just a beautiful play. Wheel routes by the running backs out of the backfield. It's borderline unfair. Ends up being a 19-yard touchdown. Puts us up 21-3, and the first half was totally dominant. But I have to talk about for a moment the late second quarter situation where we have three decisions. We got to stop after this touchdown. By the way, this touchdown puts us up 21-3. We got to stop. Van Noy had a sack. Travis Jones was in there as well. I think Allen had brought in the tight end, Dawson Knox, to help block. So the running back and the tight end in the backfield. We were able to get in there. It almost looked like the O-line for the Bills was confused on this play. So, and then we go and fumble the football. Lamar can't fumble that football. We just can't. We dodged a bullet there because after the fumble, after the turnover, we are facing it's just a 3rd and 2. Humphrey makes a brilliant play over the middle on Shakir to force a 4th and 2. Humphrey, we have to take a timeout because Humphrey is, quote, hurt. Some of the guys in our Discord thought he was faking it. I have no idea, but it looked weird because it was so far after the play. It almost looked like he got hurt celebrating his pass defense, which was worthy of a celebration. It was a great play. Bills decide to go for it, and so when Harbaugh calls a timeout, we are penalized. You can't call 2 timeouts in a row. I understand that. I think Collinsworth wanted to mention the fact that oftentimes refs will say, and I've actually experienced this, refs will come over and say, hey, you can't call a timeout next for various reasons, whatever the situation is. In this case, they granted Harbaugh the timeout, which we can't take, gave the Bills a first down on a 4th and 2, and then 3 consecutive coverage calls for our defense. I thought was amazing stuff. It was a Hollins against Brandon Stephens, the first one left side, and Josh Allen was able to get some things done against Brandon Stephens over the left side, no question. But then the very next play, this is after Harbaugh's horrible timeout gave the Bills the first down. Hollins incomplete against Brandon Stephens, left side. Another incomplete left side against Brandon Stephens, Keon Coleman. And then Van Noy in pursuit. He just seems to be there in the quarterback's face in these big moments, forcing Josh Allen to throw the football away. The reality is if we don't fumble the football with Lamar, we're probably up 28-3. But this allowed us to preserve. This stop allowed us basically to preserve a 21-3 lead at the half. And here's some numbers for you that I think are pretty unbelievable in terms of what the offense did in the first half. We had 14 first downs, 281 yards of offense. We had 8 first downs by pass in the first half. That kind of surprises me looking back at the numbers. Justice Hill had the 19-yard touchdown reception on the shake wheel. Isaiah Likely, the 26-yard catch. Rashad Bateman had a 23-yard catch. Andrews could have had a 20-plus yard gain. He dropped it. Really huge half for the offense, and let me explain it a little further. Those 14 first downs that we gained were on 27 offensive plays. I'm going to go back at some point this week and look at games for the Ravens and other teams. What percentage of our plays are resulting in first downs? Now, every play that results in a first down isn't a 10-yard gain. Those two things aren't connected. It could be a 3rd and 2 and you run for 2 yards. You gained a first down. But the point is, so many of our plays are gaining first downs. By definition, a number of them have to be double-digit yard gains, and in fact, they were. If we don't turn the football over in the second quarter, I think we're up 28-3, and the game is over on the field at that point. But in our mind as Ravens fans, it's not. Check this out for the Bills in the first half: 35 yards passing on 3.1 yards per play. Allen is 9 of 16 passing for 42 yards. He had the sack where he lost 7 yards on it. He was pressured more than I thought would occur in this game. The Bills' O-line, for me, in my mind anyway, was not as advertised. Ojabo, Travis Jones, Van Noy, all there at different times to get pressure on him and make life difficult. Yes, the Bills did have that moment in the third quarter where it became competitive. They were able to score, make it 21-10, get the football back. I did not like the Ravens' opening call with the third quarter, our first possession of the third quarter. I think our first 2 possessions of the third quarter, in fact, were 6 plays and 2 punts. Got nothing done. The play action, I understand what we're trying to do. The Bills brought extra pressure. I thought I saw a safety and a linebacker blitz, or maybe it was 2 linebackers. Lamar has to throw that football. I don't know where he has to throw the football. I haven't seen it on television, but just by sheer geometric awareness of a field, if there's 6 players that are allocated towards the blitz or being near the line of scrimmage, we've got to have space to throw the football. Now, Lamar can't. No quarterback can necessarily do that count all the time, but point is he ends up throwing it out of bounds for a loss of 14 yards, destroyed the flow, and like I said, the Ravens gave up the big play on the Bills' next possession. Allen escaped out the right side through what looked like a prayer in the moment, but Shakir was open for it. Look, it's a smart adjustment by the Bills receivers. It's a 3rd and 5, like I said. We're up 21-3 at this point. And the deeper route was covered by Eddie Jackson initially. Pressure forces Josh Allen out of there. So the way you do this is deep routes come back short, and short routes go deep. It worked out perfectly for them because Jackson covered the deep route when the deep route checked back up, basically worked back to the quarterback. Shakir, who had ran a shorter route and was not open initially, found a ton of space behind the defense. That's just what you're coached to do. Ty Johnson, the Fort Hill product from University of Maryland as well, scored on the next play, make it 21-10. Ravens offense was not dealing with the unpredictability at all. To that point, the aggression, and then the 8th possession happened. It was, sick. Just after the Bills had an opportunity, look, 21-10, they're near midfield. That Wildcat formation, real poor decision by the Bills, if you ask me. I don't know why you're doing something that appears desperate. Maybe there's someone open down the field. Cool, if you want to say, and maybe that's why Josh Allen was so pissed off that he threw down the tablet, that someone was wide open, so the design of it, quote, worked. But you're still running an anomalous play that requires execution that is different from what Josh Allen can do 40 to 50 times a game, which is drop back, read the coverage, get to the first, second, or third read, and oh, by the way, if nobody's open, he can scramble and move outside the pocket and make something happen. That seems far more simple to me than this ridiculous Wildcat bullshit that they pulled out that backfired. And shocking that it was Kyle Van Noy and Kyle Hamilton who stripped the quarterback first and then recovered the fumble on a design play. The Ravens' 8th possession, actually I think the 8th and the 9th possession are here, flowed thereafter. After the strip sack by Kyle Van Noy, where 2 players for the Bills are down, I thought, to me, based on the hit I saw and the way Josh Allen reacted, I would have thought he'd be evaluated, but I'm not a huge fan of the NFL evaluation system anyway, so I'm not going to complain about it, but that looked like to me the type of situation where you would see him or someone be evaluated. The Ravens go right down and score. A 26-yard run by Henry off the left side. We outflanked them with Ricard over there. I thought Stanley and Ricard had good blocks on that play. Another draw to Justice Hill on the 3rd play, and then a loss on the 2nd and 4. This 3rd and 7 to Justice Hill. Man, there's got to be a video done by me and probably other Ravens content creators at this point. 3rd and 7, Ravens' 8th possession. We're up 21-10. Hey, a field goal only makes it 24-10, 2-touchdown lead. A touchdown is drastically different. Hill to catch this ball in the left flats. It's a snag smash, I should say. I mean, we run this concept repeatedly into the boundary. I can tell you when it's coming. It's coming when the tight end and the running back are into the boundary on a 2nd and 4 or a 3rd and 4. In this case, happens to be 3rd and 7. And then the outside receiver, in this case Zay Flowers, motions down to almost stack with the tight end. That's snag smash, almost 100% of the time. And Justice Hill catches it. There's a little bit of a pick by Zay Flowers that I thought Collinsworth covered well. Justice Hill breaks the tackle, ends up getting, I think, 17 yards down to the 9. And on the very next play, credit to Todd Monken for the timely use of Lamar on some option stuff. We didn't rely on Lamar much tonight at all. We didn't need Lamar to do special things to win this game. In this case, we ran a diamond. Lamar keeps it for option play, 9 yards out the gate to the right-hand side. We get the football back on the next possession, which started in the 4th quarter, and we pretty much are punching them in the mouth at this point. Henry with a 38-yard gain left side, talking about the 2nd and 7 on the 9th possession from the 40-yard line. One of my notes there I want to talk about briefly with Henry. His hesitation, once he's got through the first level of the defense, is unique. Now, I'm not saying that other running backs don't set up their blocks, but Henry does this thing where, and he did this to the Ravens last year, in fact, on a touchdown run in London in Week 6, where he'll kind of see a block that's set up, but another defender has an angle, and he'll kind of veer to the wrong side, such that the second defender who's free, not blocked, is going to hedge with that leverage, hedge with that movement, and basically match Henry's cut or sliding cut. And then his true intention is revealed once that defender has out-leveraged himself or allowed him to be pinned. Maybe you'll remember the play. It's left side, 38-yard gain like I'm showing here from the 40. And he uses one blocker. It could be Ricard, but it might not be. I'm not sure. To basically take out two. He hedges inside and then bounces back to the outside. Beautiful setup, if you ask me. The Bills are obviously selling out to stop the run at this point. Anything downhill with Henry, they had two linebackers there almost immediately. Tackle for loss on the backside. I'm pretty disappointed in whoever it was on the backside, either the left guard or the left tackle. Swim move by the D tackle. And part of that is the predictability of where Ricard is, to be real. If Ricard is located on our right, the defensive left, the D tackles from the other side will swim or rip underneath to try to get to the play side because they know we're running away from them. Then we get a hold on the Bills on a ball that Bateman dropped, quote unquote. It is a drop, but he's being held. And I thought that two of their DBs held 3 or 4 times tonight. It was called once. The foot speed of their outside corners is kind of shocking to me, but maybe the field and the wet field had something to do with it. So, and perhaps I'm overstating it. Henry also stacked up on the 1st and goal, and then the fumble. That was really weird because I have never seen Henry fumble. I don't know if you have. I even thought to myself when we signed him, like, I sure hope he's not a fumbler. I haven't seen him fumble. In this case, it happens to be a DB who was able to get the hit. It may have been the same DB that was involved with the play with Bateman, but I could be wrong. Forces a fumble from the edge. Rosengarten and then Ricard fall on it. And the game's over at this point. In our minds, the game's not over because we're Ravens fans and we've seen second half or fourth quarter collapses so often. And I get it. There was a part of my mind as well. But in our Discord, I was like, hey, guys, this game's over. It's a 25-point lead in the fourth quarter. That's 4 scores. So all we've got to do is run clock, not turn the football over, and that's it. It's over. And Bills weren't able to get a score. Anyway, a couple of notes here of players. Van Noy is a terror right now. He's playing at a ridiculously high level, even better perhaps than last year at times, which is amazing. And I would use Van Noy as a jump-off point to caution people about downplaying the sign of Yannick Ngakoue. Look at pass rush reps of Tavius Robinson on the field against the type of players that we need to, type of offensive linemen we need to win against. Ojabo, Owe, and Van Noy can get the job done. It's not a bad idea to have another pass rusher for these situations where we're up. It certainly looks like we're going to be ahead in a lot of second halves this year. The last 3 weeks we have been. And so I would caution people about downplaying the signing of Ngakoue. When we have other players, Adisa Isaac got on the field tonight as well. Isaac and Robinson would be the two who just don't have pass rush skills that can match up there. Overall, 8 quarterback hits, 3 of them from Van Noy, 2 from Owe, who had another sack on what I thought was kind of a poor decision by Allen late in the third quarter. He's so used to escaping and getting away from people. You got to throw that ball away. I thought the blitzes that Zach Orr used were well-timed. It seemed to me that we kind of lulled Josh Allen and the Bills' offensive line into a false sense of security. And then at times, we revealed our blitzes late. And that pressure was strategic, and strategic usage, I should say, or deployment. And I thought it worked out perfectly tonight. You guys let me know what you think of that thought. Kyle Hamilton looked very active again. I think he's got 19 tackles in the last 2 weeks. He seemed to be at the second level of the defense more often tonight, and last week for that matter, than earlier in the season. You guys he basically playing nickel or dime linebacker. I didn't see a lot of Trenton Simpson, but he did finish with 5 tackles, so he had to be involved at some point. The larger story tonight, obviously, Derrick Henry. Who is playing better football offensively the last 2 weeks than Derrick Henry? I guess Jaden Daniels, right, would be the answer. He's playing extremely well, but Henry can do this all day. If the seams and the lanes are there, he's going to do this. This is what he's going to do. Maybe he's not going to have 200 yards or damn near 200 yards on every night, but the point is Jaden Daniels isn't going to be 26 of 30 every week for 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry could literally do this all day long if the lanes are there. I would say that the Bills did a good job on 6 or 7 runs tonight, stacking things up. But it's also a little dangerous sometimes to kind of try to overcommit to the run, because if you get through the first and second level, it's pretty much over. That wham trap play was beautiful. I'm definitely going to do a One Play Wednesday video on that and show previous iterations of it. Other teams run it as well. I thought there was a third quarter hold on Rosengarten at right tackle. There was a hold on Macari that was actually Falele screw up. Falele allowed penetration such that Macari had to loop around. So instead of kicking someone out and there being a lane downhill inside of that kick-out block, Henry had to bounce it. Collinsworth tried to talk about it for a little bit, but he didn't talk about the fact that Falele got blown up and forced Macari's path to bow out. And then you had the false start on Stanley. So really 3 penalties tonight. I think 8 overall. The running back room accounted for, if I did my math right, 305 total yards. Henry, 209 yards total between the 199 on the ground, 10 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns combined. Justice Hill, 78 yards receiving on 6 catches, 18 yards rushing, the touchdown on the wheel. Pretty amazing what the Ravens have been able to accomplish the last 2 weeks. If you look at the last 3 weeks, and the game flow is the Ravens dominate the first half and get out to a big lead. Tonight, Zach Orr and the coverage guys were far better in the second half and really suffocating, in fact, dealing with Bills receivers that I didn't think were looked as fast in the second and third quarter as they did early on. Appreciate you guys' time, man. You let me know what you think of some of the things, plays and sequences I chose to focus on here. I'm sure I neglected a few, but there really isn't a whole lot to say at times for when the game flow, the competition level is so obviously slanted in one direction. For pretty much, I'd say 80% of the game. The Ravens went out there tonight and took care of business and really short-circuited the Bills' hype train, if you will, after their 3-0 start. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this commentary reaction to the Ravens' 35-10 win over the Bills, leading into a divisional game against the Bengals next week, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.